For the first time in decades, the future of PlayStation feels uncertain. Not because Sony lacks ideas. Not because gamers have lost interest. But because something outside gaming itself is quietly reshaping the entire console industry. Over the past year, RAM prices have surged, some reports say by several 100%, as AI companies buy up massive amounts of memory to power data centers. And that single factor has triggered a wave of concern across the gaming world. Could the PlayStation 6 be delayed? Could it launch far more expensive than any console before it? And are we heading toward a future where $800 or even $1,000 consoles become the norm? Those questions have been dominating insider discussions, podcasts, and forums, and at first glance, the situation doesn't look great. Reports from insider gaming suggest that high-level talks are happening inside both Sony and Microsoft about whether the next console generation can realistically launch in 2027. The fear is simple: launch too early, and manufacturers either sell hardware at massive losses or pass the cost onto players. And players are already feeling stretched. The PS5 Pro arrived at $700. The Xbox Series X has seen multiple price increases. Nintendo Switch 2 jumped to $450. So when rumors surfaced that RAM shortages might push the PS6 into 2028 or beyond, many fans didn't panic. They exhaled. Across social media, the reaction was surprisingly calm. Some players admitted they're not ready to move on from the PS5 at all. Others pointed out that this generation only recently started to feel current, especially with massive titles like GTA 6 still on the horizon. For many, a delay wouldn't feel like bad news, it would feel like relief for their wallets. But here's where the story takes a turn. Despite the noise, multiple hardware insiders are now pushing back on the idea that the PS6 is already delayed. According to various media outlets, Sony has not made any internal decision to push the console back. No meetings. No revised launch window. No emergency pivots. In fact, some of the most critical pieces are already moving forward. Sony's main PS6 chip, the part that handles graphics and performance, is still planned to enter production around mid-2027. Contracts with manufacturers are already in place. And crucially, Sony doesn't need to finalize memory configurations until much later in development. That means the company has time to spare. Just like it did with the PS4, when Sony famously doubled the system's RAM late in development, the PS6's final specs could be adjusted closer to launch depending on where prices land. In other words, Sony is watching, not panicking. And it helps that demand pressure might actually be lower than past generations. Analysts have questioned whether players are ready to upgrade again so soon, especially if the performance leap isn't immediately obvious. Modern consoles already deliver high frame rates, ray tracing, and fast load times. The jumps now are more technical than transformational. Sony itself has acknowledged this. PlayStation executives have openly stated that the PS5 still has plenty of life left, and that some of its biggest games haven't even released yet. Development cycles are longer, games are more expensive to make, and many of the industry's biggest titles are designed to last for years. That's why the PS6 isn't being rushed. If anything, the longer runway could benefit everyone. Developers get more time. Players get more value from existing hardware. And Sony gets flexibility to avoid launching a console at a price point that could alienate its audience. So where does that leave us? Right now, the most realistic expectation is this. The PS6 is still targeting late 2027, with early 2028 as a fallback, not because Sony is behind, but because the industry itself is navigating uncharted territory. AI is changing supply chains. Hardware economics are shifting. And the traditional 5-year console cycle may be gone for good. The PlayStation 6 isn't delayed yet. But for the first time, Sony is in no rush to prove otherwise. And that may end up being the smartest move of all.